And now, live from beautiful and exciting Las Vegas, one of the most influential talk show hosts in America, radio icon Alan Stock.
Diana, good morning. Great to have you with us on this Friday morning. Oh, yeah. So glad it's Friday. Tomorrow, a big book signing over at Barnes & Noble at 1 o'clock, 2191 North Rainbow Boulevard. And because of that book signing, I wanted to get the author on today. And that author is Dana Perino, 5 co-host, author, former press secretary, and, of course, Jasper's mom as well. Dana, good morning. Welcome to Kate
That is
On.
my favorite title.
I know it is.
Jasper's mom.
I know. And all the people around you pull their hair out. But no, they love it. And beautiful little pooch, too. Big pooch, actually. Anyway, good to have you here. I know
Good morning to you out there.
Well, I know you're coming here tomorrow. You know it's going to be about 112, 113.
I just heard the heat advisory on your radio show, and so I was thinking I might have to rethink my outfit.
Oh, yeah, okay. You should, absolutely. People dress down in the heat like this. So I would absolutely recommend that. So listen, I watch The 5 every day. You guys are great. It's, I think, the third most popular cable show in the world, and it is a very entertaining as well as informative show. How much prep goes into that, by the way?
That's a great question. So I went from being White House press secretary, which was a 24/7 type of job, studying all the time. So when I first started doing The 5, which is only an hour of television in the afternoons, I thought, phew, this is going to be easy. And I'm surprised. I actually feel like the prep takes all day and even, all the time, because you're constantly having to observe the world, read a lot. And one of the things I've given myself permission to do is not beat myself up for spending time reading, because sometimes that can feel luxurious. Reading actually helps inform my thinking later on. And the other thing I have to do is, I don't know if you're the same, but if I'm trying to figure out a way to express something in a smart, pithy way, because you only have a few seconds on the show to make a point, I have to do a lot of exercise or walking, because if I just sit around, I can't necessarily think of anything good. It's only when I'm moving that I come up with a good thought or a sentence or a way to explain a complicated issue to people. So I think, we study all the time. We don't ever have any meetings. We don't meet as a show every day and talk about what we're going to have on as our issues of the day. We all send in a pitch email thread, and then our producer tells us what our topics are going to be at around 10:30 in the morning. And then we don't even see each other until about 4:30. And we don't talk about what we're going to say on the show. So that's why I think it's so successful. It's not at all scripted. It is spontaneous. Sometimes it's really funny. Other times it gets really heated. And we're human, and so that can feel uncomfortable for all of us sometimes. But hopefully our viewers will stick with us, because I think this next year and a half going into the presidential election, The 5 is going to be a place to go for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm tuned in every day, at 2 o'clock our time. You're on 5 o'clock your time.
Do you watch it live, or do you have to watch it later?
No, I watch it live. I want to catch it live every day, and then I watch the news show right afterwards, which, it's like 2 good hours of Fox News information and entertainment, as far as I'm concerned. And you guys do a great job. By the way, I want to ask you this right off the bat, because you did mention about sometimes it's fun and free-flowing and it's always spontaneous, but sometimes it's laughing and everything, and other times it gets serious. I know Bob Beckel used to be with you, and he had give it a little different slant, and he was a great. I understand that he's gone now for good.
Yes, Bob and Fox News made an announcement yesterday that he's no longer going to be with the show or the network, and it's been very difficult for all of us, and with some privacy issues involved, Susan. I'm sure you can appreciate that. And of course, I'm very fond of Bob, and one of the things in my book is I sprinkle Bob throughout, because he became a big part of my life. He loves to pretend he hates my dog, Jasper. And that became sort of fun and funny. And I also learned a lot from him, and there was some kindness there that he showed me in the 2012 election that I thought was nice to show that the 5's personal relationships were also very good. It's not just on air. I remember the night Romney lost, we were sitting next to each other to do commentary on the channel, and they would come to us from time to time for our comments, and sitting there watching this debacle of an election for the Republicans, and I looked at Bob and I said, gosh, this is so awful. It's terrible. It's embarrassing. And, instead of rubbing it in, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, well, kid, not as bad as losing 49 states, which is the Mondale campaign, the one that he directed. And there was a sense of humor and grace for all of us. And I always say, like, things like for Eric Bolling, for example, he and I sort of go at it sometimes. But I will tell you this. If I were to get in trouble, which I usually don't, but let's say I got in trouble and I got arrested, I ended up in jail, the first person I would call to help would be Eric Bolling.
See, you're the last person I would ever imagine.
Got the money. Not just because he's got the money, but because I know that he would drop everything and come and get me.
You're the last person in the world I could see going to jail, though. I mean, you are the most easygoing of all the folks.
I got to think of a better example.
But I get your point, absolutely. I do want to talk about a couple more things. One is obviously the prep that you do for the show and the stress you go through versus what you went through as press secretary. I want to talk about that and talk about what made you even think about writing this book. So if you'll stay with me a moment, I'm going to check on traffic. You'll hear how traffic's going here as well. We'll come on back and continue with Dana Perino, the 5 co-host, author, former press secretary, and of course, we've got to mention Jasper's mom as well. 5:17 in News Talk 720 KBWN. I'm Alan Stock, and I want to thank you so much for joining us on this Friday morning. Dana Perino, you can meet her tomorrow at Barnes & Noble. She's going to be out of Barnes & Noble, 2191 North Rainbow at 1 o'clock, signing copies of her new book. And the good news is, lessons and advice from the bright side. And she's a great person, as far as I can tell from the 5, and she's Jasper's mom. How bad could that be? But I appreciate you being with me. I've got just a few more questions I want to ask of you. One, I saw Carly Fiorina last night on Sean Hannity's show.
Oh, and I saw that too.
Okay, so here's the deal. Of all the people running for president right now, of all of them, Democrat, Republican, males, females, all of them, she is the one person who steps up, never avoids a question, will tackle a question head on, and she is intelligent in her answers. She's concise and precise, and, she's never held an elected office. Is there any chance someone like her, with her intelligence, who's never held elected office, could actually become elected president of the United States?
Yes, I do think that there's a chance that somebody like that could, and I think that hopefully the American experiment is intact enough to believe that. It is not easy, and I think that's one of the reasons you haven't seen somebody who has never held political office go straight to it. Now, she has run for statewide office before, and that matters because she understands what's about to come at her, right? Think of all the things that were said about her in that campaign out in California when she ran for Senate.
Against Barbara Boxer, right?
Right. So she has an anticipation of what that's going to be like. I think that she, right now, is doing everything exactly right that she can be doing, except for I would add one little thing I will tell you at the end. I thought her Hannity interview was great, but I'm going to tell you something else that's impressed me. I've had a chance on this book tour to talk to a lot of college Republicans, especially the younger women. Now, there are not a ton of college Republicans, okay? However, they can make a difference in tight elections. She spoke to their annual convention, and apparently it was like Taylor Swift had come to the convention, men and women. They were so excited. They were wanting to volunteer on her campaign, and she stayed and took pictures with each one of them, looked them in the eye, and is an encouraging and optimistic yet realistic person. I thought her interview last night was great, and I hope that in this debate season that we're about to get into, that she will be able to make the cut to at least be on stage, because I think she will challenge everybody to be a better debater. I
agree, and I think that she will shine in a debate with the others as well. I said my wife and I watched the whole thing last night from the beginning to the end, and that's exactly what we both felt. If she makes those debates, she really will be able to be on her own, and I think really sock it to everyone else. I mean, I think she's that good. Can
I mention one other thing about her in the debates? When the rules for the first Fox debate were announced, and I know they're controversial, I didn't have anything to do with setting them up, but the rules are the rules, and that's what they are. Instead of whining about the rules or complaining about them or having her surrogates complain about them, you know what she did? She said, I accept the rules, and I look forward to working hard and seeing you there. And I thought that's so refreshing.
She's got class. She's got, in addition to everything else, she's got class. And I could see her actually in the White House and absolutely be able to go toe-to-toe with people like Putin and others, even though she's never held elected
She's not
office.
afraid.
She's not afraid, and she's got the intelligence behind her. And, Hillary's right. It's time for a woman, and I think that ought to be Carly Fiorina. I'll be honest with you. I am very, very impressed with her.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see her move forward. Because, now, she's about to be hit because when these guys start to think that she's gaining on them, they will come after her with full ammunition. And a lot of what she's going to have to be prepared to talk about is her role as CEO at HP.
Right, and that's what you were mentioning that you were going to mention at the end about what she did over there. She did a great job there. The leaving was a weird situation, but anyway, we'll leave that for another day. I want to just ask you, you do a great job every day, and I know it may be stressful at times on the 5, but listen, being a press secretary, especially in the times when we're in a war situation, that must not have been easy either. And yet you remain very loyal to George W. Bush till today.
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, when publishers first approached me about writing a book after I left the White House, I was the first Republican woman to be press secretary. Relatively young age, I was 35 at the time, though I looked much older, I'd say. I was first approached, and people thought, do you want to write a tell-all book, a critical book? And I said, a gossipy one. And I said, oh, no, I don't have anything to say. And I said, the only book I would want to write is one that gives practical advice to young people, even if they don't want to go into politics, or if you're in a career transition, don't have to be young, about what it's like to work at the highest levels of government and to have been from a cattle ranch in the West where I had no political connections at all. My family wasn't big into politics. I didn't know the Bushes or the Cheneys. But there are things I've done in my life to set myself up to make a lot of friends and to take some of the harder jobs that nobody wanted to do. I also loved being the deputy, and I actually had a really positive experience in Washington. I loved my time there, and I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't have wanted to do it forever. It's kind of a good thing there was an end date because it made me have to move on and do something else. And the good news for me has been that I get to be on the 5, and I could never have done that job if I hadn't been the press secretary.
Yeah, and I'm glad you were able to get on the 5. By the way, you every one of you there has a different dimension, and it fits very, very well. I want to know why. What gave you the thought or impetus to write the book? Because one of the things that you put in there, I know you want to mentor young people, but you do. I know you also talk about civility and good habits and why it matters in the workplace as well as home. And I think that in a lot of ways today we have lost the idea of civility and good habits, and people, guys wearing their pants down to their plumbing thing there, and everything's going on. It's just weird, and it's not the same as it was when I was growing up when it comes to good habits and civility.
Yeah, me too. And my last chapter of the book is called Civility Lost and Found. And it is my thinking about how can we deal with some really important issues going forward in our country without tearing each other apart personally. I do say I had very good experiences in Washington, and I've come to this conclusion that I don't have to own anybody else's comments. Okay, so if Ann Coulter says something about Nikki Haley, I don't have to own that just because I'm a Republican woman or a conservative. I only have to own my own comments. So I have a choice every time I open my mouth. Am I going to say something with grace and dignity, or am I going to be snarky? And I try to swallow a lot of sarcasm because I think it's ineffective in the public square. It can be funny, amongst your friends, but it starts to wear down your ability to actually advance good thinking and policies if you are tearing each other down personally. So I write a little bit about that. One of the things I mention is that I have a rule that there's no politics at the dog park, because the dog park's my favorite place in the world, and I love all the people there. I only know their first names and their dog's names, and we get together in the mornings. We have such a nice chat, but I just know that at one point politics would ruin it. So that's my rule with everybody. I don't talk about it.
Wow. Dana Perino, by the way, is going to be at Barnes & Noble tomorrow at 1 o'clock, 2191 North Rainbow Boulevard. I've got your book, by the way. I'm going to have to get down there to get you to sign my copy of it because I would love to say hello to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
By the way, you mentioned dogs. We have every Friday, just to let you know, believe it or not, we've got a pet pick of the week on our show every single Friday. The last thing I close out my Friday show with, somebody from the Nevada SPCA brings a pooch in, and we get a dog adopted every single week. So that's...
You do it and you're able to get them adopted every week.
Yep. I would never have thought it worked on radio, but I've been doing it for 10 years, and we get a dog and sometimes multiple dogs adopted every week from having someone on. So
Hey, you got to send that to me. Let me make that my one more thing one day.
I will do that. I will absolutely do that to you. You can go to alanstock.com, ALANSTOCK.com, and you can see my pet pick of the week I posted for today. I have on there. Every week we do it.
How many have you ended up with?
Well, I only have one, and I tried to take one home once. And my dog, I have a Sharanian, a Shih Tzu Pomeranian, and she's a great, loving pooch. And I'm her dad. And by the way, so I understand you with Jasper and all that jazz. But I tell you, I brought one home at one time. And Daisy went crazy, with growling away. What are you bringing a dog in the house? We don't need dogs in this house. She doesn't see herself as a dog, you understand. So I've never been able to actually bring one home.
I know what you mean.
Tried it one time. But real quickly, Nikki Haley, you mentioned her. What are your thoughts about her? I personally am very impressed with her, and I like her a lot.
Yeah, we are personal friends, as well as my admiration extends to her political leadership. I think that her crisis management of the past week, what happened in Charleston, was exemplary.
I agree.
And she led the rest of the Republicans into an important decision about the flag. And so I'm very fond of her, and I think America should start taking a look at the Republican Party in a way that says maybe it isn't as monolithic and one-dimensional as they think.
Absolutely the case. Somebody once said it recently, by the way, 2 women could run for the presidency and vice presidency this year on a given ticket. I could see Carly Fiorina and Nikki Haley. I mean, I really could.
You also have Susana Martinez, who's doing a really good job in New Mexico.
Exactly. I was thinking about different parts of the country because Carly Fiorina's from California, Nikki's from the East Coast. I was thinking of that kind of thing.
Well, and Mary Fallon of Oklahoma is another quietly successful woman who with an unemployment rate that's in about 2% or something like that.
Wow. Great choices.
I'm exaggerating. It might be a little more than that.
Great choices out there. Listen, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Dana Perino will be at the Barnes & Noble, 2191 North Rainbow Boulevard at 1 o'clock. I would get there early because I bet you there'll be a long line, even though it'll be 112, 113. Long line out there. And you'll get the chance to be able to meet her, shake her hand, and get a signed copy of her book. And the good news is lessons and advice from the bright side. So, listen, go to alanstock.com, check out our pet pick of the week, and you can tell me tomorrow what you think about that, and look forward to shaking your hand tomorrow.
Okay, I can't wait to meet you. Thank you, Alan.
Dana, thank you so much, and have a great day and a safe trip out to Las Vegas.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Dana Perino joining us right here on News Talk 720 KDWN. Great personality, very loyal to George W. Bush, even though people, when she left, they were saying bad things about him. I mean, don't forget, when he was leaving the office and Barack Obama was going to take his oath of office, and George W. Bush walked out first before Obama did, he got booed by Obama's people. That's never, ever happened in my lifetime when you had change of administration, one Democrat, Republican, or Republican to Democrat. So she stayed loyal to him all this time. Meet Dana tomorrow. Dana Perino, Barnes & Noble, 2191 North Rainbow, and that's at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and get a copy of her signed book. Nice gal. All right, got a lot more going on this morning, and we're going to get to it after we check in with news, traffic, and weather on News Talk 720, KDWN, KDON.